The Space Between Time, Chapter 1, Part 2, Take 1. Jenna's fiancé Sam broke off their engagement at 5 a.m. Now Jenna is arriving at work. In the elevator, she nearly lost her composure, but by the time the doors opened, she'd plastered a smile on her face, greeting coworkers until she could make it to her office before the threatening tears overflowed. Once there, she plopped down in her chair, exhausted. The corner office that had once been her former boss Diane's had a lovely view of the city of Portland with Mount Hood in the distance. When it was clear enough to see it, that is. Jenna had been happy when she'd taken over the job as interim senior editor. She hoped that the principal possession was 9/10 of the law would work and she'd become the new senior editor at Columbia Publishing. Now, looking out at the gray, overcast day, which was typical for mid-April, she wasn't sure this was the place for her. Sam's leaving had set off a whole range of new emotions, making her feel uneasy. In a weird way, it was comforting that the gloomy spring day matched her mood. Before she could get settled and her mind in gear for work, her best friend Joan stepped in the door. Her dark hair was cut in a short, stylish bob and framed her oval peaches and cream face. Concern shone in her dark eyes and puckered her rose-colored mouth. Jenna faintly registered how smart Joan looked in the navy blue suit she'd found on sale at Nordstrom's when they'd gone shopping the week before. Joan sat in the chair in front of Jenna's desk. "Hey, are you all right? You look like your dog died." Jenna took a deep breath, needles prickling her heart. Sam walked out this morning. "Oh, man, that S.O.B. Did he say why?" Jenna rolled her eyes. "The usual crap. It hasn't been working for a long time. Oh, and he got a promotion and he's moving to L.A." Joan clasped her hands. "Well, good riddance. You were thinking of ending it anyway. Now you can move on." Jenna wiped a tear. "Yeah, but when it finally happens, it's still a shock. And as usual, I blame myself." Joan got up and walked around to sit on the edge of the desk closest to Jenna. "Oh, sweetie, just because he wasn't the right guy doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you." Jenna took Joan's hand and gave it a little squeeze. "Keep telling me that until I believe it, will you?" Joan squeezed her hand back. "I'll take you to lunch and we can talk, okay?" "That'd be great, thanks. We better get to work. I don't want to lose my job, too." Joan stood up. "Okay, we'll go to Chinyen's and boil him in oil." Jenna laughed. Joan stopped at the door. "Still haven't heard anything about your promotion?" "Not yet." Just then the phone rang. They both jumped. Maybe this is it. Joan crossed her fingers. Jenna cleared her throat. "Jenna Holden." A female voice was on the other end of the line. "Miss Holden, this is Officer Parker from the Roseburg PD." "Yes, what can I do for you?" She looked at Joan and shook her head. Joan waited to find out who was on the phone. "I'm sorry to tell you that your mother's been in a car accident. Can you come as quickly as possible? She's just gone by ambulance to Mercy Medical Center." Trying to make sense of what the officer had said, she felt the blood drain from her face as she looked up at Joan. "What? What did you say?" "Your mother has been in a serious accident. You need to come right away." The room began to spin. "No, it can't be. Oh, God in heaven, Mom!" The officer cleared her throat. "I'm so sorry, Miss Holden." Her voice was so kind that Jenna nearly lost her composure. "Can you drive yourself here, or is there someone who can drive for you?" "What? No." "I'm sorry. What do you mean? Do you want us to arrange for a state patrolman to drive you down?" Jenna closed her eyes and took a deep breath to help herself think. No. I've got my car here. I can drive myself." "First Sam, now this." Jenna looked at Joan, who had a concerned look on her face while she waited to hear what new disaster was unfolding. The officer was saying something. "All right?" "Thank you. I'll leave as soon as I can. I'll let the hospital know you're on your way. Again, I am sorry to be delivering such bad news." Jenna couldn't say anything more. The phone beeped 3 times, indicating the officer had rung off. Joan's voice floated into Jenna's consciousness. What is it? It's Mom. She's been in a terrible accident. Joan knelt down next to Jenna. Oh, man, I'm so sorry. And on top of Sam's walking out. Do you want me to go with you? She clenched her jaw with determination. No. I'll call you when I know something. Okay, I'll get out of your hair. We'll all be praying. Joan squeezed Jenna's hand and left. Jenna picked up the phone and with a shaking hand called Mr. Drayton, her immediate supervisor. His extension rang 4 times before he picked up. Mr. Drayton, I just got a call from the Roseburg police. My mom's been in a bad accident. They want me to come right away. I'd like to put in for emergency leave. Mr. Drayton cleared his throat. We've got that big meeting this afternoon. We need you there. She cringed. Whenever she talked to him, even over the phone, she felt like she'd been slimed. Mr. Drayton, it was a very serious car accident. The officer didn't say this, but I think they're not sure my mother will live. Kenny can take over the meeting. He knows everything about this project. Well, if it's that urgent, I'll let you go. Fletcher's been sitting in on your team meetings. He can fill in any information Kenny forgets or doesn't know. Jenna felt a flash of anger at that last statement. Kenny knew every aspect of every book project her team was working on. Fletcher only sat in on the meetings. He didn't do any of the work. She stuffed down the angry comment she wanted to make. Thank you. If I'm still in Roseburg on Monday, I'll call and give you an update. Mr. Drayton sniffed. That'll be fine. I'll let Mr. Winston know. The line went dead. Well, he could have said he was sorry. Shaking her head to clear it, she picked up the phone again and called Kenny, her assistant. Kenny Miller. Can you come to my office? Sure, be there in a sec. Kenny was knocking on her door almost before Jenna had the receiver set down on its cradle. She waved him in. My mother's been in a car accident. I need you to take over for me at the meeting this afternoon. Kenny moved to the side of Jenna's desk. He looked like he might put his hand on her shoulder, but she had glass windows instead of walls in her office, so he stopped himself. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Don't worry, I can handle it. I hope your mom will be okay. Jenna nearly cried. Kenny was such a great guy. Why couldn't she fall for someone like him? She set her jaw, determined to concentrate on the task at hand. Thanks. Me too. She stood up and began gathering the things Kenny would need for the meeting. He took them and went and stood at the front of her desk. I'll call in to let you know what's going on. I know you can handle things until I get back. Oh, and I have to warn you. Mr. Drayton is inviting Fletcher to be your backup. Kenny rolled his eyes and frowned. Before Mr. Drayton got here, there was trust in this company. I know, I'm sorry. It's okay. I can handle Fletcher Vale. You take care of yourself. I'll tell the team. We'll be thinking about both of you. Thanks, Kenny. You're the best. Kenny gave her a sad smile and left. Before the door closed all the way, Fletcher poked his head into her office. Mr. Drayton told me to pinch hit for you at the meeting. Jenna swallowed down her consternation. That's kind of him. Kenny knows the hall project backward and forward, so I'm not sure there will be much for you to do. Jenna blinked. She thought she saw a dark mass of energy shoot out from Fletcher's head. It was only there for a second, and then it was gone. She closed her eyes. First Sam, and now Fletcher. It must be the shock. Fletcher ignored Jenna's remark. I hope Kenny's got what it takes. Oh, sorry to hear about your mom. Don't worry about a thing. We'll handle everything while you're gone. He had that smirk on his face that Jenna hated so much. She took in a deep breath. I trust my team to handle things while I'm gone. No matter how bad her mother's situation, she wasn't going to give the higher-ups a reason to give her senior editor position to anyone else. Okay, anything else? Nope, that's it. Was he ever going to leave? Fletcher's lips pursed ever so slightly, and then he smiled. It'll be good to have a wingman. Before Jenna could reply, he left. Her stomach sank and her hackles were up, as often happened when she talked with Fletcher. She couldn't put her finger on why he irritated her so. Just as she was picking up her briefcase, she heard the rustle of petticoats, the sound from her dream. Swiveling in her chair to look behind her, she saw nothing, but the feeling of the woman's presence remained. Taking in a deep breath, she let it out slowly. She couldn't crack up while her mom needed her. As she was going down to her car, she remembered that she'd found a discrepancy in the financials on the hall project. Dialing Kenny's number, she waited. Kenny Miller. Kenny, I forgot to tell you, I found something fishy about the financials when I was preparing for the meeting. Call Andy and have him look over the expense records for all of Hall's books. I've highlighted the section I found. Don't worry about a thing. I'll take care of it. Tears filled her eyes. Thanks. She choked as she hung up the phone.